What's happening, everybody? It's resident supervillain Mr. J. Washington here with my review for Cloak and Dagger episode 6, Funhouse Mirrors. Now, if you have not watched the episode yet, I would advise you to go watch it, then come back, because there will be spoilers in this episode, alright? I like this episode because, first of all, we only have a short season, I believe like 10 episodes. So being in episode 6, we're starting to get into the full meat and potatoes of everything that's been going on since we got the introductions of both Tyrone and Tandy, who are affectionately known as Cloak and Dagger. In this one, it starts out with Evita sitting with her Aunt Clarisse, who wants to have a reading. And Evita's like, yo, why do you want to have this reading? She's like, it's something going on, and some energy with your boyfriend, Tyrone. Now, if you remember, also, her aunt made a 3D little sculpture printed up who is Tyrone. And she's trying to figure out what does he mean for New Orleans as a whole. Also, Tandy pretends to be an intern to get close to Nina Hess. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, Nina Hess was on the video that Tandy saw, and she's the daughter of Ivan Hess, who worked directly side by side with Tandy's dad, Nathan Bowen. Now, she does a lot of research on Nina. She figures out things about her likes or dislikes, reads her master thesis, be able to quote certain things back to her about it. And in the process, afterwards, she mentions things that seem too obvious for just a random intern to know. And Nina figures out that she's really Tandy Bowen. And it kind of hurts her because she was developing a level of trust. Also, Nina reveals to Tandy that the Roxxon Corporation wasn't drilling for oil at the rig that exploded that killed Nathan Bowen and gave Tandy and Tyrone their powers. They were drilling for something else, something that is 10 times hotter than oil, it burns longer and things like that. They didn't say exactly what it was, but that's the element that caused the rig to explode and gave them their abilities. Also, Detective Riley, she is trying to get closer to figuring out what the deal is with Connors. Like, she's starting to see things, she's starting to believe it, but also it starts to look like Connors is catching on to her. He like, yo, you asked a little too many questions to just be wanting to clean up some things. It's like you're prying almost. And so they go on the streets together. When you always see cops, when there's a dirty cop you know of and a good cop trying to catch the dirty cop and they go on the street together, you like, well, this is when the good cop pretty much gets murdered, because that's pretty much the common trope in TV shows. But that doesn't happen. I'll get to that in a minute. Tyrone is now trying to find out more about Wayne. Previous episode, of course, you found out that Wayne, who was one of Billy's friends, Billy is Tyrone's brother who got killed by Connors, Wayne is working for Connors, and now Tyrone's trying to figure out, yo, what's really going on and how to get to the bottom of it. So what he does is he approaches Wayne, he asks for a job, not just a basic job, you know what I'm saying, the drug running job. Wayne like, nah, I ain't got no positions open, fam, I don't know what you're talking about. Until one of Wayne's runners, Kevin, he's caught up by Connors and stuff. Now, he has his bag of work on him. Tyrone actually confronted him and, you know, was trailing him. Kevin pulled the pistol out on him. Tyrone backed off. But Kevin got caught up by Connors, dropped his bag. Tyrone picked it up. He did his, you know, teleportation thing, grabbed the bag, and took himself back to Wayne. Now, Wayne's like, okay, so I see you want to be in this business. That's what happens there. Here's those are the basic storylines of what was happening in this episode. I know it sounds like I'm all over the place, but that's pretty much how this episode was. Because it's putting all the pieces together, and it's reminding you of all the pieces that you need to know for when we hit the culmination, which again is in about 4 episodes. One of the things I dug is how Tandy and Ty, they have a discussion in the church. Tandy tells Ty, maybe you should use your nightmare powers to help you, you know, fight off people. Because Tandy has learned to use how her ability of hope helps her out, and she's able to make her daggers like that now. Tyrone still doesn't have a grip on how his fear ability, inducing nightmares, and teleportation works. So he starts to take that in, and we're finding out a little bit more. Also, gotta go back again, because I'm thinking about all this back and forth. Aunt Clarisse, Evita's aunt, tells her about all the things that's happening in New Orleans, like I told you guys earlier. But she also mentions that they will be saved by the divine pair, which are what Cloak and Dagger are referred to as the divine pair, as if their powers are basically ordained from God. Like I said, when Kevin gets caught up, he has to report back to Wayne. Wayne gets the call while he's with Tyrone, talking about the life in the streets and doing what he has to do to survive, because New Orleans is a bunch of survivalists, you know. Despite what they went through Hurricane Katrina, they've been through more before, and they'll be through more afterwards. So I like the way that hit home in this episode. But Connors meets up with Wayne first of all, Wayne gets back to the warehouse with Tyrone. He knows Connors is coming. He tells Ty, yo, you need to get out the back. Go. Connors comes in, tells him about the whole situation with the cop. He says, what you're going to have to do is pull a gun on me, and I'm going to pull it on you, and I'll be able to help solve this whole thing out. Which, as we know, when you hear that, that ain't going to go right either. Because remember earlier, good cop chasing bad cop, more than likely good cop's going to get killed. Well, O'Reilly breaks in, sees the gun drawn. She points at Wayne. Wayne points at her. Connor points at Wayne. O'Reilly shoots, kills Wayne. Tyrone sees this and yells, no, runs out. Connors is chasing him. Here's where it gets good. When Connors is chasing him, Tyrone is running every gunshot. He teleports, he blinks. And every time he keeps hearing it, he blinks. And he finally gets a chance to control it. And he teleports himself back to the church with Tandy. Now, when he sees Tandy sees him, he's just standing there in shock. He's crying. And Tandy doesn't know what to do. Tandy tries to touch him. And it's almost like when you put two magnets at their positive ends together, they'll retract from one another. And she doesn't understand why that is. But Tyrone is sobbing and in tears and in pain. So that's what the episode leaves us. I believe we're starting to see more in depth of how their powers, connect, how they're utilized together. Also, Clarisse tells Evita, one of them will live, one of them will die. So hopefully they do not kill off one of the two. I would like to see them go further and further with this pair. In the previous episode, we did just find out the connection to Luke Cage. I love that. I was like, yo, so it's in the television MCU. Now, if you remember in my original review for the premiere of this, I said automatically it looks as if it's one of the Netflix shows. So it looks like it meant to be on Netflix. Netflix wasn't sure, so Freeform took it, and of course everybody heard Freeform was like, no. But I don't want anything to happen to either one. I like what they're doing with Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph. I love the pairing of them as Tyrone and Tandy. The two different worlds, the juxtaposing who is the rich and who is the poor, the way that they have two individual stories that still don't meet up, but the only meet up is the fact is how they got the abilities, and both are trying to solve their individual cases respectively. I want to see if Nina Hess will end up helping Tandy, or till Tandy reveal what her abilities are, what the oil rig did to her. Also, there was a thing I forgot to mention. After the reveal to Nina that that's Tandy, she's Tandy Bowen, later on she goes to see Tandy. Tandy goes to see Nina in the hospital visiting her father, Ivan Hess. Now, she doesn't understand what's going on. Ivan Hess is kind of cathartic. He's just standing there. He's almost like he's awake but comatose. And Tandy just like, can I try to talk to him? And then she touches his hand. And when she's trying to touch his hand, she sees a vault of sorts locked in. Someone's locked in. And when she tries to open it, it's the black that you see with Tyrone's abilities. And she doesn't understand what it is. It wakes her out of it. So could Tyrone and Tandy together be the key to opening up Ivan Hess's mind and going forward? I know it's a lot to process in this, but that's why I dig some of these shows. I like when we don't just stay surface level on superheroes and their stories. I like when we get deeper. We go into actual issues people may deal with, cultural issues, societal issues. And I feel like Cloak and Dagger has played that out very well thus far. Again, 4 more episodes to the culmination of the first season. I'm fingers crossed for a second season and a renewal notice soon. So I want to know what you think. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click on the notification bell, alright? Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington, MrJaywashington. Become a patron. Join my supervillain squad, y'all. Go to patreon.com/Mr. J Washington. Join up with the supervillain squad. It's only $5. You're going to get exclusive content that I normally don't cover with just, Marvel and DC. Things I'll cover more in depth. Music reviews, comic book reviews, wrestling reviews. All that's going through Patreon. It's not going to be just here on the YouTube. So if you want to get all of that, become a Patreon. $5 is all you need to do. Okay? Stay tuned for announcements on the new Mad Type podcast that's dropping very soon. I will holler at you guys later. Take care. I'm out of here. Peace.